All right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So today we're going to be breaking down a fishing trip that we had the other day. So it's super hot. It is super hot. If you can't tell, my skin's just leaking. It is just extremely hot outside. One of the things about the day was, you know, we kind of expected the day to go a certain way, and it didn't. And we adjusted to those times. And that's kind of what I'm wanting to walk you through in this video in particular, is those days where, you know, you show up to a lake and you expect the weather and the conditions and stuff to be a certain way, and then you get there and it's completely different. Don't be afraid to adjust. So I'm going to walk you through it. Stay tuned. This is definitely something you don't want to miss.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh. Yeah, it does not feel like a swim bait bite at all. I mean, they got the name right. It's Crush City. I mean, they crush it. I mean, Wheeler Lake, they were hitting it like that. Or not Wheeler, Wilson Lake, they were hitting it like that. Smith, they hit it like that. There he is. Got him in. Straight ahead. Feels like a better one. There you go. Yeah, I got him hooked in the side or something. Have to. Yeah, a little squirt. I promise, buddy, you can just get off and go back home. It ain't gonna bother me. I just don't want to catch a hook. See, that's the size shad that they eat. That's why it's so hard to catch these jokers up here, dude. So small. There they go. Trying to look for the, there he is. Trying to look for the better ones, but there ain't a whole lot of better ones. Come here, little bud. You can come off. That's fun. Thank you. There he is. I don't know. No, he's decent. He ain't bad. Right there in front of me. Straight in front. Come on, bud. Yeah, he's better. A lot better than them other ones. Still ain't necessarily what we want. Better. Man, water temp's a lot warmer. Okay, better. Still, well, he was still little. Got it. Mind your business, bud. These in this mouth are a little better. Yeah, there they go. They saw us. Yeah, he's better. Eel, too. Has a horn. Wait. This one ain't either. Literally. It's about the same size as. Spook, any pliers?
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw on the left of you. Got him? Munchkin too, man.
Mm-hmm. There's one of them back.
There he is. Yeah. You're right back out there. There's a bunch of them right there. You gonna spit it or what we doing? Settle. Alrighty. Got it. Yeah. Oh, I missed it. Dadgummit. That's one. Swamp right up. Dadgummit, he hit it again, dude. Yeah. Yeah. He's little, but he's kind of, this is starting to get personal. I thought you would top water. That's the reason I was.
Must have started up.
You running fluorocarbon? You gotta check it constantly for nicks. I'll tell you a little trick on flukes. I do run fluorocarbon on my flukes, but yeah, if you can run mono, it's better.
Oh,
There he is.
Hell, he don't even want nobody knowing what river he's on.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, some guys actually do that to protect the fishery because they don't want people swarming in, but if he's not catching giants all the time, he shouldn't really have that issue.
Nah, I mean, like, he's catching decent fish, but it ain't a fishery that needs big time protection.
Yeah.
Like, a normal person is not going to come down.
So after I broke that mega bass, I was like, hey, let's try that. And I did. And it worked. They got a little bit different action. Oh, he missed it. He swiped hard at it too. Try that again. Knocked the tail over the head. There he is. Better one. Yeah, it's a better one. Let me get right there where you're at real quick. I might be swinging. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot better than them other ones. See, he's actually healthy.
Yeah, that's decent. That's healthy.
Paired up here is healthy. I don't think it hurts them or anything. But I just think it just throws them off from what they're used to doing or what they're trying to do, and you know, just makes it difficult. Another better one. Look here. Large one. I take your man card now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might come off.
Bright green, bright yellow. Oh, he spit it. That was a good fish. Got him? Oh, yeah. That may be the same fish, dude. That may be, I bet you that's the same fish, dude. See if he's got any more with him. Yeah, I bet you $100 that's the same fish. The way he jumped up out of the water. That's a largemouth, dude. He crushed that one. The color you're using of that mare's a good color. It matches them shad a lot better. Good?
Yeah. I looked, I had that sexy shad.
Yeah,
But I had
that's what I'm running.
a bigger one.
Yeah.
I didn't have them small.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, those are the size fish we would be looking for. Right in the middle. Oh, he better. He bit it good. Largemouth.
A lot of largemouth off this bridge.
Most time you don't. Golly, dude. If he'd have got it any deeper, I lost my swim bait here.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they named it right. They crush it when they eat it, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I bet that's what it was, a small one. Listen, that's a largemouth, dude. Well, this is a swim bait head, but it's more shaped like a dart head.
Yeah.
And I've noticed with this Crush City, come here, bud. I've noticed with this Crush City, the swim bait heads, it just swims straight. But with these darter heads, like, well, I say darter head, it's a swim bait head, but the darter shape, yeah, it's just like wiggles. Got it. Largemouth. Scoliosis. Wild, ain't it?
Yeah. I always just figured they got their back.
Genetics. Yes. Got it. Oh, about broke my rod though. Yeah, it's genetic. Got him?
Got a fish.
Those large, man. All right, everybody. So let's break down exactly what happened, and then we're going to break down the baits that we caught these fish on. So, we were fishing a reservoir called Upper Bear Creek, and Upper Bear Creek is a small reservoir. It's a reservoir that I grew up on as a kid. The only thing is, I can tell just, you know, from the time I was a kid till now, a lot of the fishing has went really downhill. I don't know exactly what's going on with the people who manage the lake and stuff like that, but you know, the fishery itself needs some work, and there is tons of fishermen on this lake. So it's not a lake that you go to and you just see ski boat after jet ski after pontoon. it's not that kind of lake. It's a lake you show up to and you fish from daylight till dark, and you may run into 4 or 5 pleasure boaters. So 99% of the people that are on this lake are fishing, and they're either bass fishing or crappie fishing, 99% of them. So this is a heavily pressured lake. Now, I like fishing this lake because it challenges me. It really challenges me. It's a lot different than other places that I go. It seems that every time that I go to this lake, I catch fish, although it challenges me on where these fish are located because they're few and far between. So, one day I may catch them on points, and the next day I can't get nothing on points. So the next day I swap to bridges and I catch them on bridges, and then I move off of the bridges, and then I have to start fishing bluffs, or, just something different every time, and I have to adjust my baits to those times. Now, this fishery has spotted bass and it has largemouth bass. So if that sounds familiar to your fishery, this is definitely something you want to, stay tuned and listen to, because maybe it'll help you out, maybe not. Either way, I'm just going to give you, my best opinion and what I do while I'm out there on the water and how I adjust to those times. We knew the day was going to be hot, so it was going to be a lot harder than it has been. We're talking 90s, mid 90s. So we were expecting wind, although we get there and there's no wind at least till about 9 o'clock. So we're talking slick, calm conditions. Now, most of the time, I'm going to target fish that are moved up in the grass, but fish that are not only moved up in the grass, but that are active. So I'm hunting them with flukes, I'm hunting them with spinnerbaits, I'm hunting them with square bill crankbaits. Although this time it was completely different. These fish were not in the grass where I expected them to be. We couldn't get bit doing that. So immediately we adjust. And we adjust to fishing main lake points. Okay, so we move on to these points and we find schools of spotted bass. And how we find these schools of spotted bass, it's really indicated by the shad, and then we also see the spotted bass come up and physically eat these fish on top of the water. So now, if you are used to seeing that, but you cannot get these fish to bite, typically there's 2 things going on. Number one, the bass that are doing this are too small to eat your lure. Okay, so you may be using a lure that's too big, or they're just too small in general to eat whatever lure you throw at them, because these fish were eating super, super small shad. I mean, yay big. So how would I mimic that? Well, this is a bait that I use, and y'all hear me talk about pretty regular. When they're feeding on top of the water, I go with the Strike King Sexy Dog Junior. This is a nude version, okay? So the nude version is completely clear, but one of the things that I do is I swap that back hook out for a treble hook, okay, with a feather hook. And then I put a short shank EWG Gamakatsu hook on the front. This, in my opinion, helps, okay? So typically with this nude version, they're not really seeing the bait because I'm moving the bait really quickly. So, it's got a real strong cadence side to side, and I'm not giving it time to rest. And if they miss it, I just keep working it, and 99% of the time they come back and hit it. But the feather hook just gives them something to target. So 99% of the time, I'm getting them hung up on that back feather hook. So we find these fish, and we target them with that. Now, we started out catching super small ones, and then we started catching a little bit bigger fish off the top water baits. Worked out well, but we was not into those types of fish that we were really, really wanting to catch. So that's one of the things the guy that was with me said. He said, hey, why don't we, do something else, try to get some bigger fish? Well, yeah, absolutely, So, because I'll sit there, I'll catch little spotted bass all day. I don't care. They're fun. I love watching them blow up on top of the water. But either way, so we move off to bridges. Okay, so the bridges that we move on are these tall bridges with multiple pillars and stuff. So we fish these pillars, and we find out pretty quick that these largemouth and spotted bass were living on the pillars, but they were super tight to the cover, so they're not just out roaming in the open. There was some spotted bass that were just out in the open roaming, but they were the smaller spotted bass that we were already targeting. So we start catching nicer fish, and by the way, on this lake in particular, 2-pound fish on this lake, 1.5 to 2 pound, 2.5 pound fish are good fish on that lake. It's good quality fish. It's like you going to Gunnersville and catching a 4-pound fish. The fishery that we were on specifically, I don't know how to explain it. it's not a big fish haven, okay? So you're not catching monsters. You know, 9-10 pounds typically win a tournament up there. It's not a big, you know, big bass sanctuary, but it's just a lake that I love to fish. But either way, we found these largemouth, we found these spotted bass living close to the pillar. So, you know, we'd have these pillars going down like you saw in the video, and we were skipping our baits up under there. We were also, you know, casting around the outside edges, and we're literally, as soon as this Crush City Mayor hits the water, we're reeling it. We found that not that super fast cadence, but not a super slow cadence, but just a strong cadence, consistent. They're hitting it and they're crushing it 100%, just smoking it. So let's break this down. So we get there and we're trying to target fish in the grass, and we come to find out they're not in the grass. So we swap over to points. We start catching fish on the points. Now, most people are gonna run those points all day. And typically, I'm not saying that I would not, but the individual that I was with was like, hey, you know, I'd like to catch, you know, something else besides these particular fish. So we move to another area, bridges, and we start fishing the bridges, and then we catch fish off the bridges, better fish off the bridges. So after we leave this area and stuff, you know, we move to another bridge location, and we find some fish living on the pillars once again. And I targeted these fish with that War Eagle 3/8 ounce spinnerbait, big willow blade Colorado kicker. It's just a great technique to use, especially since we started having wind come in. So with the wind coming in and pushing through the bridges and stuff, it creates, it's not a current that basically travels from the top to the bottom, but it creates a type of current, a type of movement in the water close to the surface. And the shad were very, very close to the surface. So it kind of makes these fish really predictable on how they're going to position. So if I've got a pillar here and the wind's blowing this way and pushing the water this way, those bass are going to sit behind that pillar. And as bait comes by, they're going to come out, come around and eat the bait as it comes around the pillar. So either way, we catch these fish in multiple different ways. We run all the way to the other end, which is called Quarter Creek. We run all the way up to the other end, which is called Monday. So we fished everywhere and in between on this lake. And we kind of found fish everywhere except for in the grass where we were wanting to catch the fish. So, you know, what I hope you take away from the video is make sure if you're not catching fish the way you want to catch them, you don't feel comfortable doing that, don't be afraid to adjust. Whether you're fishing a tournament, whether you're out having fun, don't be afraid to adjust, because you never know when you're gonna run into them. Plus, they kind of sporadically, you know, spread out at times, especially when it's really windy, or not really windy, but when it's not really windy. So, you know, you got those slick, calm conditions. The shad they just kind of roam everywhere, and that's where you see those bass, you know, out in the open and stuff, and you know, just busting on shad here, there, and everywhere. So, you know, you kind of have to adjust. And sorry if I'm breathing real hard. It is hot in this shed. So, but either way, guys, I hope you take something from the video. Like I said, don't be afraid to adjust. You know, if you're not catching them in the grass, try bluffs, try laydowns, try anything, and pay real close attention to where you catch fish. Like I always say, if you catch one, it's not a pattern. If you catch two, maybe a coincidence. If you catch three, you're starting somewhere. They're telling you something, so pay close attention to what's going on. And don't be afraid to adjust baits in the middle of the day. We were catching them on top water. We swapped over to the Crush City, started catching bigger fish. So we stuck to it for a little while, slowed down on the Crush City, went to the spinnerbait, started catching better fish again. So, you know, don't be afraid to adjust your baits in the middle of the day. Don't be afraid to adjust your baits first thing in the morning. If they start slowing down, try to throw something different at them, especially if you're around fish and you know you're around fish. If you're having trouble locating fish, look for birds. Look for birds. If there's a bird on the side of the bank looking in the water, he's looking for shad and some fish to eat. And 90% of the time, they're a lot better fishermen than we are, because they're going to catch one, okay? So if you're in an area where there's a bunch of birds on the bank, you know, you're probably in an area where there's bait fish, where there's bass, where there's whatever species you're targeting. So pay real close attention to that area. Either way, guys, I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, especially if the video helps you. Like it. It helps me out a ton. Also, we got members only, $2 a month. You get my content early. You can ask your questions early. All that good stuff. If you can do it, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. I appreciate it anyways. See you next time. Crush it. I mean, Wheeler Lake, they were hitting it like that, or not Wheeler, Wilson Lake, they were hitting it like that. Smith, they hit it like that. here, I mean, they tear into it when they go.